If you are paying attention to the national news, and I know we don't cover a lot of national news on this program, but it affects us. It affects us here in Idaho. Yesterday, news broke of footage. New York Post reporter was down at the border in Texas. I don't know if this was El Paso. It might have been. Was it El Paso? We have the footage. So let's roll the footage of what was happening yesterday at the border. This was El Paso. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is a bunch of migrants, illegal migrants, breaking through an initial barrier here. Of guardsmen of some sort of military unit, whether it's the National Guard or whatever, and these folks bust through, and then they make their way inside the border of America, where we have the big wall that was built, and then they come up to the border and do that. So. Very disturbing footage. Now, what I want to highlight here is that whatever this particular event, this specific event that happened there in El Paso, is under control. You know, the Border Patrol are processing some of these people. I've learned to understand as this is being reported all over the country now on the big news networks and such. But what does this have to do with Idaho? And obviously, this is our country, so of course this has to do with Idaho. This has something to do with us. So, but we need to break this back and bring it back down to a level that we can all comprehend about what's going on. Because that footage right there, it's not about this one specific incident. This footage is going to be seen all over the world. And anyone crossing, making their way to this country or sitting outside wondering how they're going to get into this country will now be able to see this footage and say, oh, it's that easy to get through that first barrier that Texas has set up with fencing and wire and whatnot. It motivates people, and that's very dangerous. So dangerous that the U.S. Congress should be working on something right now, and the House Freedom Caucus is in uproar this morning in Washington D.C. because they just voted on H.R. 1102. This is an omnibus bill. This is a $1.2 trillion bill that is 1,012 pages long, 216,000 words, with no plan to secure the border. And this graphic here is showing you how that vote went down. And we've highlighted at the bottom our Idaho congressmen, Russ Fulcher and Mike Simpson. Russ Fulcher voted nay, so good for him. He voted nay on this bill. Mike Simpson didn't vote at all. I don't know why he didn't vote. I haven't seen any communications of why he didn't vote, whether he was not there or what's going on, but he was not there for this important vote on this $1 trillion omnibus budget bill, which in listening to the news on this morning, there's funding in this bill for the Wuhan lab in China. Did you guys know that? Among other things, there's funding for the Wuhan lab in this bill that just passed. That doesn't do anything about the border. Okay, you can see right there, 102 Republicans voted against. 102 voted with Democrats. Yeah, there it is. No, is it 102? 101. 101 Republicans voted with the Democrats for this bill for a total of 286 to 112 Republicans and 22 Democrats for 134 no and 12 people not voting. So it doesn't seem like that those 12 people not voting does makes any difference in the count. However, it certainly doesn't. We don't know where they stand on this vote. So make sure we call up Mike Simpson and ask him what he thinks of how the vote went. That is at the national level, right? Other folks who voted for this bill: Elise Stefanik, Steve Scalise, Dan Crenshaw, they all voted for this bill. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House. Matt Gaetz stood up and vacated the speakership of Kevin McCarthy months ago. Mike Johnson came in with big fanfare, and everybody was so excited, and it felt like it was a new day. Well, he voted for this monstrosity of a bill, and because of that, because of this, Marjorie Taylor Greene has started the process to vacate him from the seat. So there's a lot of stuff happening nationally. But that doesn't mean that we need to lose focus of what we're doing here in Idaho. In fact, it means that we need to be more resilient in what we are trying to accomplish. And that is protecting our way of life, protecting our sovereignty, and securing our border from an invasion. And that is what House Joint Memorial 11 was supposed to do. And that did not pass in the House. This is the vote on House Joint Memorial 11. This would have sent a message, a literal message. This is a memorial that's being sent to our congressional delegation: Russ Fulcher, Mike Simpson, Mike Crapo, and Jim Reich, to impeach Joe Biden, secure the border, and deal with this illegal immigration. And it failed. As you can see here, it failed because it was a tie vote, and you need 35 votes to pass something. It can't just be, or 36. You need a majority. You can't win on a tie. A tie does not go to the runner. So that bill failed. The folks in red are saying no. We don't need to do anything. Send any strong message to our delegation in Washington. I want to go through exactly the arguments that were on this bill, on this joint memorial. So we have Dale Hawkins, who was the sponsor of this bill, presented in committee. Presented on the House floor when this was voted upon. So when he presented it, they went around the horn. Everybody was talking, and then he closed out with a very eloquent moment here. So let's listen to Dale Hawkins explain to us exactly the importance of this joint memorial.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good body. I'll try to address some of these things. The first thing I'd like to do is commend the good lady from District 32. H-2A is a good program, and those are legal workers in the state of Idaho. And contrary to popular opinion, it is much more expensive to hire them legally, because she is correct. You must pay for the transportation from the country of origin. You must pay to house them, feed them, and give the federally adjusted wage, and there's no way around it. I think in state affairs, do I need to ask to refer to other legislation if I'm talking about this one, replaced 8?
It was brought up earlier by one of the gentlemen. If you would like to do the same to cover yourself, unanimous consent to refer to previous or pending legislation. Is there objection? Here down, the good gentleman may
and for one of those who moved against this, it was found out in the conversation that indeed they do this direction because it is considerably less expensive. I feel as though if I had put good wages are driving this, then everyone that was against this would have said I was attacking them because of good wages. I don't think any word that I used there would have made anybody happy. The fact is that we are choosing some economic stability, I think, over the safety of our country. Anybody who turns on the news knows that nobody enters the United States of America through our southern border without the help of the cartels. So I would ask the good body, when we say that we want them here, are we saying we support the cartels? Now, I'm not imposing that on anybody. I'm just asking that question. It was also said that these are all workers and they're all paying taxes. My question would be, under whose Social Security number are they paying those taxes? Because if you're here illegally, you do not have a federally issued Social Security number. So I don't know where these taxes are going. That might be a good thing to know. Another thing that I think is something that the good body should take into consideration. We're not talking about refugees. The standard for refugees, and it was mentioned we hope that if we're fleeing our country, that we get to go somewhere. The standard for refugee means that if you flee your country for fear, the first country after leaving your country that you step foot on is the country where you receive aid. We have people coming all the way from the Darien Gap. They're crossing several countries before they ever even get here. The funding that must be behind this is astronomical, and I would tend to say that this invasion is being funded by people other than what we might think. There's people behind this. I don't know if you watched the videos of people coming across the border. I don't know how you travel 3,000 miles and you get there with clean clothes. And so there's something going on here that I don't think the people in the United States are recognizing. Look, I pointed out in committee in the 2022, if we just talk about the drugs that are coming with the people who come here, 155 deaths in 2022 from fentanyl. The 2023 numbers were released about a month ago. 570, I think it was 73, 570 plus. More than 3 times in 1 year. What will the number be this year? Will it be a family member of ours? This open border situation and strong language is the only way to go. And it was said that, impeaching the president, that'll never happen. The last one was impeached twice. So why would we say that would never happen? This is direct violation of federal law and their accountability to secure our country. And we should never forget that everyone who crosses the border without permission is a felon. And with that, I would ask for your green vote. We need this message.
Well, there you have it. That was Dale Hawkins on House Joint Memorial 11. Anyone who crosses the border illegally is a felon. Folks, look at this footage. Watch this footage. Now, I'm telling you, and we can keep the volume down. It's a little, it's too much in my ear here. But the footage that you're seeing here from yesterday, like I said, this is an isolated incident, but it is going to be seen all over the world and is going to motivate people to come here because look at what happened. They bust through that line easily. I mean, those troops are wearing, they have weapons with them. And I'm not saying that they should be open firing. Absolutely not. These are unarmed people. But they certainly aren't afraid of that. They certainly aren't afraid of people with guns. They're coming right through. And I don't care what you say, this is an invasion. This is an invasion. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. When that vote happened, and you saw the names in red who said no, this is what they approve of. Representative Chris Mathias, Democrat from Boise, had took issue with the strong language and with the word invasion. He took issue with that. We have that clip. Are we ready can we show that clip? Let's show that.
I wasn't going to debate this. I'm not prepared to talk about labor rates, numbers across the border, any of that. I just wanted to share my feelings about the use of the word invasion. When a nation like Russia sends its troops armed to go commandeer land that is not theirs, that is an invasion. When a lot of people, the vast majority of whom are unarmed, are merely trying to flee poverty and violence to come to the greatest nation of the world, by calling it an invasion, we are using inflammatory rhetoric, and as politicians and public leaders, we have a greater responsibility than that. So you're probably not going to vote no, but.
Oh boy. When was that? That was only a week or two ago. That ages like fine glass of milk. That's how that ages. Incredible. Yes, this is not like Russia coming over the border with tanks, my friend. But this is unacceptable for the United States of America. It's unacceptable for the people of Idaho. And the strain, I mean, look at these folks. And where are they headed? These, I mean, are any of these? He said the vast majority of which are crossing don't have weapons. So he at least admits that there are probably some. So maybe in this crowd there's one or two people that may have weapons in here, or there's a few people that here that are coming across that are going to do harm. I mean, when you are this adamant about cutting through U.S. military forces to get to the border, holy cow! Look at this. These people have no. Boom, done. Look at that. They crushed through right to the fence, and then they were processed by border patrol. Some of these people are already in, and some were sent back. I don't know the full story. They're still dishing out the news on this, but the footage is there, folks. It's incredible. Okay, so where are these folks going? Where are these folks going? Well, during the committee hearing on this, your State Affairs Committee was listening to the House Joint Memorial 11, which Dale Hawkins just went through. And they went through some questions with people who were against this memorial. And we got to hear why they were against this memorial. And one of those reasons was this there was language in there that said, oh, the big agriculture and the farming and all this stuff, big ag, basically their thirst for cheap labor. Okay? And one of those people that showed up was a representative from the Dairymen Association. And he dropped a bombshell on Heather Scott and the committee. Listen to this.
The best way I can answer that for you, Representative Scott, sorry, Mr. Chairman, best way I can answer that for you is ICE does I-9 audits. And so all of our employees fill out an I-9. So when ICE has come on dairies in the state of Idaho and have done an I-9 audit, roughly 70% of our employees will not cover that I-9 audit. So that employer has a choice. You either got to get the correct information if it's available, or you cannot keep that employee hired. And so I would tell you 90%, no, somewhere around 70%. I mean, we're always trying to be straightforward and honest about this, because when I'll give you the best example I possibly can give you. When we're in DC lobbying on immigration need for reform, I give them the same numbers I just gave you. Congressman Labrador was up north, and he made a statement, and the statement was that 90% of the labor force in Idaho was on dairies was not legal, which obviously I've given you that 90% number. There was an AP reporter in that room, and I got a call almost instantly. He says, "Will you confirm what Senator or Congressman Labrador just said?" And you take a breath, and you have told Congressman Labrador all the facts. And I said, "Well, I think his numbers are a little high. I'll put it at 70%. And that's what I'll tell you. I think it's about 70% based on the data we have."
Wow, folks. Wow. When Congressman Labrador, when AG Labrador was in Congress, he was talking about 90% of the dairy farmers are 90% are illegal. Here they are. It's 70%. Idaho's dairy workers arriving for work. Oh, you guys. Love it. I mean, is that what we're looking at here? 70% of Idaho's dairy farmers, our dairy workers, are illegals. These are them. They're arriving for work. Does this just get people excited at the dairy because they're like, we don't want to work hard to hire Americans and make it enticing for them to work here. We need this. We need this. Are those troops on the border hired by the dairymen? I don't mean to disparage them. Those guys are doing fantastic work down there, and it's too bad that they were overrun. I mean, there was 5 guys down there letting these guys in? Incredible. Oh my goodness. We need to pray, folks. We need to pray. This is bad news. Okay. We have been watching the House and the Senate. They're both, the Senate actually just went at ease. The House is still in session. We have multiple calls out. Tony Wisniewski, Dale Hawkins, Heather Scott, Tammy Nichols. We've asked and sent them, we've been communicating with them about coming onto the show, and they're all prepared to do so should the House and Senate adjourn after, within the next 30 minutes or so. So hopefully we'll get those folks on here to get some more insight about what their thoughts and feelings are about what's going on down at the border and what's happening here in Idaho, because Newsflash, folks, there's still some work that we can get done. There's a couple weeks left. They're winding down, but there's a couple of weeks left. And we need to make sure that Idaho stands at the forefront of this and protects and stands with the states and protects and sends a strong message that we will protect our sovereignty. It's incredible. 70% of the dairy workers are illegal. Incredible.